The Dominion recently made their presence known when they returned to help the Alliance fight off the hur'q resurgence. Their fleet's leader was a familiar face, Odo, who then suggested a talk with the leaders of the quadrants in order to smooth over their return and maybe discuss a larger alliance against the hur'q. We've already spoken to half the delegation, but many remain, so shepherded by Captain Nog, we mingle around DS9, introducing ourselves to the other leaders and interested parties. I'm going to be referencing a lot of the tales and lore blogs that are posted outside of the narrative of the game to provide some background context for this video, because there is a lot of interesting stuff and I liked catching up on the characters we've come to know, old and new. As we've just finished talking with Chancellor Jumpark, not Emperor, sorry about that, we exit his temporary office to find a familiar face just outside, Rodek, or as he now calls himself, Kurn. Originally in TNG, Kurn of House Moch had his identity concealed when the House lost its honour. With Martok restored to the Chancellor's side, the House of Moch was reinstated and Kurn's memories restored.
You once knew me as Rodek, son of Nagra. Now I know the truth of things. That was a name given to me to prevent a great dishonor. With Martok's aid, my name, my face, all have been restored.
That's good to hear. Slightly convoluted, but good to hear.
Our recent deeds and service to the Empire have led Jumpark to restore the honor of my house. The sons of Moog once again stand proud and without shame. For your part in that, I thank you. It has been an honor to fight at your side.
Well, the honour was mine, and I hope we continue to fight at one another's side. He's talking to a Klingon unfamiliar to us, Adet Pa, currently General Kurn's first officer.
Something on your mind? I'm not fond of being gaped at like a dumbstruck targ.
I'm sorry, and you are?
I have many names. At the moment, I am Commander Adet Pa, First Officer of the Corps. In another life, I was Agent Kib of Klingon Intelligence. More recently, I was known as the Witch of Nimbus 3. I'm rather fond of that last one. It made children wail and grown men soil themselves.
I'll check my breeches.
Can't you see I'm busy?
I mean, we can tell her to watch her tone, but she doesn't really care.
Or what exactly? You do not frighten me! And I can think of a dozen ways to kill you with my bare hands. If you're lucky, I'll use one of the three that are quick and relatively painless. Buzz away now, globfly. Perhaps you can impress old Martok with your growls.
Ah, you think so? Why, has he said anything? He is pretty cool.
Can't you see I'm busy?
Alright, fine, I'll leave you to it. So, Adet Pa played a larger role in the Klingon intro story missions, which I'll be covering after this arc has played out, and she's played a discrete role in past missions too. Kurn first met Adet Pa when he travelled to Nimbus 3 with his wife, Birja, looking for the Witch of Chord's Rock, who originally brought to light that Martok was still alive and joined on as Rodek's first officer. After the rescue of Martok, Rodek was brought to Starfleet Medical, where Ambassador Worf also awaited for the restoration of Kurn's memories and cranial ridges. They had to bring in a specialist consultant to assist, one Julian Bahsir. I wonder what he's up to now. On recovery, Kurn states that he will continue to work from House Nogra as he needs to repay them for sheltering him. As for Martok, well, Jumpark had originally attained the Chancellorship with the support of half the High Council and the supposed defeat of Martok in honourable closed-doors combat. Martok's returns brought up certain issues, and the two meet in private. It also turns out that the Chancellor has access to unbiased, unaltered tales of Klingon lore, ones strictly left untampered by the often exaggerations of lore singers and such. One such ancient carving from times long lost was the fall of Kronos, which depicted one of the few original pieces of Kahless overthrowing the hur'q, and it was before this historic art piece that the two Chancellors met. Knowing that he could full well kill Jumpark, Martok, however, decided that he couldn't risk starting the skirmishing among the houses that would bring. So instead, he pledges himself to fight the hur'q by building his own army of volunteers, as most of the High Council doesn't really want to get involved, setting the stage for some unresolved issues further down the line. We had originally noted as we arrived at DS9 that there were a myriad of refugee ships that were pulling up from the Gamma Quadrant, and working our way around the promenade we can encounter several clusters of displaced cultures. First up are a group of Ennis miners from the system of the same name. Originally, these people were encountered on the Ennis-owned prison world of Alt, where Kaiopaka was eventually killed. However, microbes of Alt's prison world resurrect any dead individual, but only continue to function if that individual remains on the planet. So clearly these miners are unlikely to be from the Alt system, because of the aforementioned prison conditions.
Nice to see some fighters around here. You're here to fight the hur'q, aren't you? Someone has to, before they eat everything in existence. Some of the other Gamma refugees will moan and groan about this part of space, but I like the Alpha Quadrant. The Bajorans are processing iridium ore here again, and there's good, honest work for people willing to do it, like me. Most of the Bajorans won't go near the processing areas. Too many bad memories about how the Cardassians ran them, I guess. That's good and well, just means more work for me. Beats working for the Dominion, I can tell you that much. I might never go back.
So it sounds as if some of them intend to make a home here, if there's room for them. Their home world has clearly been overrun by hur'q, as he alluded to them eating everything in sight. I guess millennia of hibernation makes them rather peckish.
Lucky to be alive, friend. There was little warning before the hur'q attacked our homeworld. We sent a call to the Founders, but no Jem'Hadar ships came. Our local defense force didn't last long. A few of us managed to get away on ships before the hur'q closed in. Word of the Bajorans and their faith reached us after the war ended. Their stories about one of their spiritual leaders. She came to the worst of us, on our prison moon, to bring the wisdom of the prophets. So, when the hur'q came, we decided to come here, through the Celestial Temple, to seek deliverance. If the Founders won't listen to us, perhaps Kai Kira and the Prophets will.
We also encounter a group of Kurima, Dominion member species first encountered by the UFP in 2371, but a year earlier by the Ferengi. Their home planet was attacked by the hur'q too, and originally they had no idea who it was. Some even suspected the Klingons because of tales told during the Dominion War. However, soon when the hur'q made landfall, it became apparent what was going on. But even more unnerving was the fact that the Dominion fleets never arrived to aid them, because as Odo attested to last part, the Dominion did not fare well against the hur'q at all.
It must be a surprise seeing Koremans here on a Federation station. Let that sink in for a minute. It's so bad in the Dominion that its citizens are looking for safe haven with their former enemies. We were the lucky ones. We got out early. I've heard rumors about a blockade, keeping the rest of us from leaving the homeworld. It might be true. I haven't seen any more Koremans arrive here for a while now. Oh, please. The Founders have forsaken us. Don't let the Alliance turn their backs on us, too.
Walking past, the unfortunates were informed by Nog that we're approaching the current and former residence of one of the attendees.
It looks like Counselor Garak is in his old tailor shop. Huh.
Councillor Elim Garak. His tailor shop is flanked by Cardassian security, who look completely at home in their armour, surrounded by the similar architecture of the space station formerly known as Tenruk Nor. The lettering under the English of the sign is in Cardassian. Inside, but with all the curtains drawn and clothes currently shuttered away, we have the man in question, talking with another prominent Cardassian diplomat, Rugan Skil. Fun fact, Skirl used to play many of the roles in prior stories that Garak now takes the position of, so now he's little more than a background character, but at one time was a fairly important member. Councillor, good to see you again.
Hello there. I take it you're not here to update your ensemble, though if you'd like a few suggestions, I'd be happy to provide some. In the meantime, let's talk about serious business, shall we? I'm sure you'd like to know Cardassia's position on the hur'q problem. It's simple, really. They're a menace, and one we should deal with swiftly.
That would be handy, yes.
Surprised? Don't be. Cardassia was recently attacked by the hur'q. We'd have fared poorly without help from our neighbors. Even the Lucari and the Ferengi offered a hand. I trust this lesson isn't lost on you. If we stand alone, we're doomed.
Couldn't agree more. Now, I tried looking into a lot of this attack on Cardassia as it seems like a fairly big event, but I couldn't actually find much on it. I may have overlooked a story. If you found it, let me know. But yeah, I'd like to have known more about this. In the meantime, we can ask him about the shop.
Once upon a time, when I was but a tailor. That was before plain, simple Garak became a member of the Detapa Council, of course. Before the Reconstruction and the Iconian War and the hur'q. While I'm proud of the work I've done for Cardassia over the years, there's a part of me that yearns to be here once more. To be just a tailor, just Garak.
Yeah, well, we all go where we're needed. I got yanked out of the 23rd century. Oh, like you didn't already know.
Will there be anything else?
No, I guess not. I should probably check in with everyone else. Although, what do you mean about my fashion sense? Not too long before this summit, but after the attack on Bajor, Kira, more on her in my video about post-Dominion Bajor, was experiencing visions from her orb meditations back on her homeworld's surface. As is common in visions, she jumps around through different points of her life, events all jumbling together from her time on DS9, but instead she's fighting hur'q instead of Dominion. One detail I like about her as her time as Kai is that she still answers calls with militia phrases such as report and issues commands like belay that. It's a fun Colonel Kira nod. She also deliberately minimises the comforts of her office as a conscious decision, because Kai Wynn enjoyed many niceties and Kira really doesn't want to emulate her in any way.
Hello there. I suppose Admiral Quinn sent you down here to see where Bajor stands. I can tell you we're worried. The hur'q were a few ships away from ravaging our homeworld, and if the Dominion falls, they'll be back, and we'll be the first to face them, so Bajor stands ready. We'll do what we can to stop the hur'q, even if that means joining forces with the Dominion.
Understandable. Historically, Bajor's usually done what's practical and best for it.
There's something else I should mention. I've experienced visions recently, a sign from the prophets. I see a place I've been before, a world beyond the grip of death. It's the home of a former Kai, and it's in the Dominion. I should also mention that I've seen you in this vision as well. I believe we're going to take a journey together soon.
The world she's speaking of is the prison moon of Alt that we mentioned earlier. But if we go off gallivanting around in the Gamma Quadrant, what happens to your duties as Kai?
As Kai, I'm obligated to serve the will of the prophets. Doing so leads me to many places, not just Bajor. That can be difficult, especially in times of war. There's been a lot of that in the last few years. First the Dominion, then the Klingons, the Iconians, and now the hur'q. There are times when I wonder how Ben Sisko managed during the Dominion War, and he was the emissary. I've tried to follow his example whenever possible, but it's been a challenge.
Yeah, it wasn't easy for him either.
Something else on your mind?
Not that Hale would know that. So, Ferengi interests are also at threat from hur'q attacks, as close as Ferenginar is to the Bajoran wormhole and the areas of the Germanium-infested worlds that the Zenkethi were targeting, like the Lucaris.
My father is in my uncle's bar. Hard to believe he used to work there, huh?
In one lore blog, Nagus Rom discusses with First Lady Leeta about the issues that the hur'q are causing and attacking indiscriminately, ruining supply lines and the like. The Lucari and the Kentari have also been bolstering the Ferengi's Marauder defense force, but as we've seen, the Lucari and Kentari have been among the casualties of the Zenkethi purges too. Rom considers asking Nog to just bring the Federation fleet, but Leeta has to point out that he doesn't have that level of authority, and eventually they decide to actually attend this conference, and decide to back any action that will stop the hur'q despite the financial cost it may have on Ferenginar. It's also revealed that Pell is working for him, and that he is in frequent contact with Ambassador Neelix, which is simultaneously a conversation I'd love to see, but one I'd hate to be a part of.
I was wondering when you'd come along. I'm guessing you're here to talk about the hur'q and what we want to do about them. It's no secret that the Ferengi aren't a military powerhouse like the Klingons. Most of the time, we'd be happy to make a tidy profit from all of this, and as far away from it as possible. That changed when the hur'q attacked Ferenginar. We would have been wiped out without help, and we didn't get it from Starfleet or the Klingons. We got it from the Lukari and the Cardassians. Even a few not cool ships showed up to fight. That showed us that this is everyone's fight, big or small. So we're in. And if the 34th rule of acquisition comes into play, well...
Is that the one about war and what is it good for? We can also ask what exactly he did to convince the Ferengi people to lend their support to any efforts against the hur'q.
It wasn't easy, believe me. I've managed to get the board of liquidators with us, for now. Most of them see the potential for incredible profit. Alliance defense contracts can be very lucrative. The rest, well, let's just say their self-preservation instincts are strong. They'd rather fight with the Alliance than stand alone. The hur'q have me thinking about adding a new rule of acquisition. If they can't be bought, get ready to fight!
Oh no, Rob, what has 35 plus years of endless warfare done to you? And also Ferengi with energy whips, they're pretty nasty.
Did you have another question?
Nope. You are probably one of the most terrifying people here. And that's surprising.
The Alliance has asked a number of special consultants to attend the summit. I know each of them well, and I can vouch for their knowledge and skill, even my uncle Quark. Despite his reputation, his knowledge of the Gamma Quadrant is valuable. Just don't mention Latinum in the discussion, or the value of his information could rise considerably.
Understood. Oh, and if you're wondering why we jumped back to the temple, it's because of the order we had to talk to the delegates in, and I just moved them around to be more cohesive. Back to the bar.
Don't suppose you're here for a drink? Hollow Sweet? Dabo? Can't blame me for trying to find profit while I can. My fool of a brother, the Nagus, seems hell-bent on getting the Ferengi into this mess. Not a lot of profit in fighting the hur'q, 34th rule or not. You can't spend your money when you're dead. If you ask me, we'd be better off sealing that wormhole and saying goodbye to the hur'q and the Dominion forever. I'd miss the Tulaberry wine, but I'd get over it. But seeing how that'll never happen, especially as long as Kira's still breathing, I suppose I'll have to dig in like everyone else. You know what the worst part of this mess is? Odo. He's back like a kind of ghost haunting me. I must be cursed.
Really? Because Nog was telling me you guys were like, besties. And for funsies, we can also bring up the fact that we overheard that Quark now owns a moon.
I do. And I'd be there, enjoying myself, if it weren't for the Grand Nagus. Brother or not, I wanted nothing to do with this until he put Lukari terraforming tech on the table. Couldn't pass that up. It'll cut biosphere renovation costs on my moon by 70%. Even with Odo here, and a billion hur'q trying to demolish everything in sight, there's profit in the wind. Might finally land that exclusive Tulaberry export contract I've been dreaming about for 40 years.
Yeah, assuming the hur'q don't, raise every planet in the Gamma Quadrant that farms Tulaberries.
Can I get you something?
Tulaberry wine, please, while it's cheap.
Hello. Oh, it's been a while since I've been in this place. I can't believe Quark still has that hollow me in here. It's a little embarrassing, to be honest. I wish we were all here under better circumstances. Then again, DS9's always been a trouble magnet. I guess peace is a little too much to ask for around here.
Yeah, raining Bolians.
My husband is risking a lot of capital, political and otherwise, by choosing to get involved with all of this. Fortunately, he's the best Grand Nagus to come around in a long time. The best ever, as far as I'm concerned, but I'm pretty biased on that point.
I was about to cut this little bit out, but it's actually kind of funny to watch this Bolian stagger around. I like to imagine they're a bit drunk. Sorry about that. Please continue.
Look, if I were this mirror version of me I've been hearing so much about, I'd have a lot more tactical advice to offer. As it is, my advice to you is this. Take a look around. Think about all the civilians, the refugees, people who are depending on you to protect them. Think about the best way you can do that, if you can. That's what I'd do if I were in your shoes. Boots, whatever.
Sound advice, and one that often gets overlooked the higher up the totem pole of power you go. But I'm sorry, you heard about Mirror, Leeta?
Yeah. In that alternate universe where good people are evil and vice versa, turns out the evil version of me is an admiral there. Real piece of work. Wears lots of leather, carries a whip. Oh, and she's in command of the evil Enterprise.
Yeah, that's true.
I found out about her from my husband's information gathering specialists. Never hurts to be well informed, right? Rule of acquisition number 7. Keep your ears open and your eyes on the mark.
The Ferengi have a rule about my character? Or Rule 76?
Was there something else?
No, I'm done. It makes sense that the Ferengi delegation was holed up in Quarks. It is now the official Ferengi embassy, thanks to Rom's influence, which is partly why Quark got so rich. The last consultant we have to speak to is across the way in the sick bay. Huh. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar. I don't believe we've met.
Admiral Quinn's attaché. Nice to meet you. Dr. Julian Bahsir, recently commissioned Starfleet officer at your service. We're doing what we can to get things in order after that business with the Zenkethi and the hur'q. The station took quite a beating, worse than I saw during the Dominion War. We're still treating casualties, and it looks like we'll be seeing more soon. A lot more. The situation is compounded by the presence of civilians, both local and from other systems, even the Dominion. We have a number of refugees from the Gamma Quadrant on the station, and more are on the way. Clearly, the sooner we can solve the hur'q dilemma, the better. We'll be beyond our capacity to help the refugees soon, as will Bajor.
So that explains where a lot of the refugees are headed. They're going down to Bajor to be taken care of there. But, Doctor, you said recommissioned?
I mustered out some time ago to start a private practice on Trill. Since then, I've worked on special projects for Starfleet from time to time as a consultant. Even managed to start a family. Needless to say, I wasn't initially thrilled with the idea of putting the uniform on again. Still, it's very hard to say no to Kai Kira and Captain Dax. And so here I am, back on the front of an interstellar conflict. Here's hoping it's a brief one.
Frontier medicine, eh?
Something on your mind?
So this history of Bahsir is a little different from the Beta Canon books and such. That had him delve into the world of Section 31 in the hopes of reining it in, with mixed success. Here he moved back to Trill, while Ezri Dax rose to the command of the first Slipstream prototype, the USS Aventine, and they had a much more peaceable life. Honestly, I prefer this. He didn't really need to get re-involved with Section 31, that was all a bit too dark and grim, although that's only if we believe the official records. There's a lot of time there. Bahsir could have been up to something else. What we can say for certain is that, as a Federation citizen, he was routinely contacted for his expertise in numerous medical fields, including the restoration of Kurn's memories, as well as genetic modification on viruses to render them inert and create all sorts of vaccines. Again, I'm going to have to call it here for this episode, as there's just so much additional lore that I wanted to jam in, and this part of Star Trek Online was basically a massive reintroduction of characters that fans, including myself, love, and I wanted to do them justice and explain what they've been up to in the interim. These in-between chapters tends to be where all the extra stuff gets lumped into, so yeah, they end up being a bit long and talkative, but I'm hoping I didn't bore you. So thanks for watching this catch-up of Star Trek DS9, Star Trek Online, and I look forward to kicking off the fight against the hur'q next episode with some uninvited guests that crashed the DS9 summit. Until then, I've been Rick, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.